So I'll take you all guys back in 2010 where cloud concept is not exist, cloud computing is not there. So let us go back to the time where 2010 example I want to develop a e-commerce application where I'll sell my on the online. Right. My application name will be like e-globe commerce application that I have. So this is a e-globe company, one commerce application is developing and they wanted to deploy the application and sell their products on the online. Back in that time, there is no cloud concept exists. What usually they have performed this deployment is one development team will be there, so we'll call it as dev team. What dev team will do is they will develop the application in their local machines. Local machine is in the sense local laptops. Dev team will develop the application in the local laptop. Once the development is completed, we have one more team called QA team. They will give the application to the QA team, so they will test the application in whether it is working fine or not. They will also perform the same testing operations in their laptops only. What development has developed the application, it is fine. Now QA team has tested the application and it is good to go live. Live means online. Okay, as a minimum number of users, say 10 users, 13 users are hitting this server, hitting these laptop machines, and they are able to access the application. So development team has developed the application and it is running. Same QA team tested the application and is running. So minimum number of users, let us say 10 number of users are hitting your application. eglobecommerce.com, eglobecommerce.ed.in, something like that, and URL will be there. You are able to hit at the minimum number as 10 to 15 users you're getting. So it is fine. Now, whenever we are using these local laptops, 10 to 15 users are okay to handle our service requests. When it comes, your application got popular and more number of users are get used your application. At that time, you will get a compute issue. So our local laptop means at the time we hardly have 4 GB memory. So 4 CPU, 15 GB memory machines we will have. So when I run the application and I'm getting the 10 to 15 users, it is fine. So I'm able to provide the response through the laptops. When it comes to more number of users, let us say 100 to 1000 users or 1000 to 2000 users, they are hitting the application. Your laptop won't be sufficient to provide the requests as we need to scale our application. And in ideal case also, to application goes to live, we can't use our laptops because if laptop goes down, our application will also goes down, correct? Then user may not able to access the application as it is not available. To eliminate this issue using our local laptops to run our application and provide application access to the users, we face this is the issue. Like first one is compute issue and our office laptops we have. So here we can't run our application to proceed with online users. To eliminate this issue, we have moved to concepts called servers. So from here, this is where laptop deployments we have. From there, we have moved to the server deployments. So back in that time, 2010 and that era, we have server providers. So famous server providers are IBM, HP, and etc. Like we do have different. So let us say we have an IBM server provider. We have purchased a server from them. So then e-global commerce application. As a DevOps engineer, I have decided that I wanted to deploy this e-global commerce application to servers now. So this is the server. Let us take. Now we have moved from local laptops deployment to servers deployment. Now here I'll run my application inside this server. Before deploying the application, we need to specify what kind of machine we need, like how much size I need, what is the RAM I need. So I have asked IBM team that I need 100 GB of CPU and 100 GB of memory I need. Okay. So that they will provided me a server. So once you have purchased this server from IBM with this compute configuration, now what you need to do is a Hebrew commerce company and application. Once they have given you the server, you have to install this server in your organization. Okay. So that is where one more team will come as system admin team. So what this team will do, they will install whatever the server we are purchasing from the IBM. They will install the server in our organization in a server room. So let us take this is a server room. Inside the server room, you will have a number of racks you have. Each racks consist of one or more servers actually. So this 100 GB CPU and 100 GB memory, I will procure that in my organization data center. like server room. So this is my server room. So inside the server room, I'll have my VM, which I have a server from IBM. I'll write. Okay. So now I like so one we need this kind of setup to maintain these servers. So you can simply purchase the server from IBM and you can deploy it. Before deploying, we need to maintain this server. You can ask. So maintenance involves few categories, like few tasks we need to perform in terms of physical maintenance. So let us say the server you have purchased from this one and you have installed this one in your in your organization server. You need to provide cooling system for your server, and then you need to provide power supply to your server, and then you need to provide network to the server. All these three can be done by using the system admin team. So the system admin team, whenever we purchased IBM server or from any of the provider, they will install the server in their server rooms in the rack, and they will provide cooling system, power supply, networking. Now, if we compare development team and QA team to develop the application, test the application, if they require 50% of work they have done, the system admin team will do more than 50% of work. Okay, to maintain all these things. More than 50%, it will be a time-taking process to do all these things. Procuring the server and deploying the server in this server room and maintaining the server. Also, whenever you deploy your application here the server, it is okay, fine. We have provided cooling system, power supply, networking, all this you have done. Now, what you do is you will deploy your application here inside the server. Application is deployed and it is running fine. Now, what you need to do is this time in this server, we are getting more number of users again. Let us say this time 10,000 users, 20,000 users you are getting. They are hitting your application URL and getting some response from your application via server. Okay, so this is where you have deployed your server in this one. Now, when it comes to the drawbacks of this server deployment is you have procured this server. Let us say you are getting maximum number of requests on particular time period only. Let us say 2 a.m. in the morning or else 9 p.m. Let us say 12 p.m. You are getting maximum number of users and usage of your application. In this time period only, you are getting maximum number of utilization of your applications via this server. Now let us say only 3 hours of time we are running our application to provide users the proper response. Then the remaining hours it will be not underutilized. So this machine we can say that this server we are underutilizing the server, even though we have paid the full amount. When you are purchasing the server from IBM or HP, you need to pay full amount to get the server. So IBM charged me $100 to procure this server and have deployed my server. I have installed my server in the server room, deployed my application, and I'm using the server. Like affected in the sense, only 3 hours I'm using. But for these 3 hours, I have paid already $100, meaning that I'm underutilizing this one. So there is a cost consideration we need to do. Okay. So the second one, we need to maintain the server by our own, right? To maintain the server by our own, we need to install the server manually in our server rooms, and we need to provide all these essentials to run the server. These are the major drawbacks when it comes to server deployment. Again, to eliminate these two issues, what we are getting when in server deployments, we have moved to cloud deployments. Okay, this is where came into the picture after all the years. Okay, now cloud came into the picture. What cloud will do? They'll say that we have web service. We will provide you all this infrastructure as code, all this thing one. In the cloud, you need to switch to the virtual machine or any service they are providing. You can use it. So we need to maintain all these things. First organization to introduce cloud concepts is Amazon's AWS. Okay. Later, Microsoft Azure has introduced cloud computing, and later then GCP, Google's Google Cloud Computing. A cloud platform has introduced the cloud computing. So what is cloud computing means? Accessing the cloud resources over the internet is called cloud computing. This is the definition. Now let us see what it is exactly. So let us take this is my cloud. So inside cloud, what they will tell you is in our demo we are going with Azure only, right? Let us take this is an Azure cloud. So what Microsoft Azure will tell you is they will provide services over the internet. So Azure will have different data centers. They will give you that east to west. So regions, let us say East US and Asia, and then Australia, and we do have different Europe. So these are the regions they will offer us. Inside these regions, they will maintain their data center. Whatever we are doing here in our organization server room, that data installing the servers in data racks. This is entirely we'll call it as data center for our organization. Whereas in the Azure, they will procure large number of data centers in their cloud. So this is one of the data center. Let us say an example. Again, in their data center also, they will have server racks. So for I'm taking one example that one East US in East US region, they have one data center. Azure have lot more data centers. We are saying we are taking only East US. This is where they have a data center. Microsoft install their own servers in their data centers. Let us say this is one virtual machine. This is one more virtual machines. So we won't call it as a server in Azure. We'll call them servers as a virtual machines. So they will offer this machine virtually. So that's why this is a virtual machine. So let us take the same example, 100 GB CPU example only. This machine is 100 GB CPU, like 100 CPU and 100 GB memory. Okay. So what Azure will tell you is, so we will maintain the server for you. So infrastructure entire thing we will maintain. So we need to make a request to the Microsoft Azure saying that I need like 20 CPU, 32 GB memory, or 25 GPU, 25 CPU memory. I need this much configuration of virtual machine. I need maintenance of all these three: cooling system, power supply, network. We don't need to install this. We don't need to install the server in our server room anymore when we are using Azure Cloud. This is how you can eliminate maintenance of your servers. Simply, you can switch to this server. You can connect to that virtual machine from cloud, and you can deploy some applications over there, and you can access your applications. Okay. So that is how you can eliminate the maintenance. Now you can ask me, Akhil, how you eliminate this costing also. So let us take an example, the same example, $100 here. So here in the server deployments, I am paying $100. Whereas any cloud compute providers, these are the cloud providers we have. Any cloud providers will tell you that, so they will use pay as you go model. Meaning of this one is you pay whenever you use the servers, then only you pay. Okay. So let us take the same 100 CPU memory and the memory machine you have taken. So this is the virtual machine I have to get from Azure. So I am using this Azure machine, same application I deploy here. App is running here, application is running. Okay. Now, what is the maximum usage we are getting for our application? 9 to 12 p.m. right? That means hours only I'm getting my usage. So what Azure will tell you, Azure will do is Azure will charge you for the virtual machines based on hours. So how many hours you are running, pay that much amount only. What the feasibility the cloud providers will provide us. You do some simple math here. Let us take virtual machine costs $0.1 per hours, right? So if the math will be 0.3 hours per one day. Okay, one day you are running 3 hours, 0.3 per day we are getting. So if you calculate it for 0.3 into 30, then you will get $9 only. It's like $10. Okay, you will do for per day equal. Then you will get $10 of amount. You will get monthly cost for this VM is $10 per month. Okay. Now when you compare the cost for your server deployment, here I'm able to pay $100 when I purchase the server itself, but where I'll pay $10 per month whenever I am using the server in the Azure cloud. If you don't want this server anymore, you can simply turn off this server and you can delete it. So they won't charge you. They means Azure Cloud, Microsoft Azure doing, they won't charge you for the amount of services you are using from their cloud. So this is how you can eliminate costing and maintenance with help of cloud computing. So what is cloud computing? Accessing the cloud services from Azure or any cloud provider over the internet is called as cloud computing. Clear? So the what next one is What Azure will offer us. We have seen what is cloud computing. The definition is saying that we need to use services. What Azure will provide you few services, we need to use them. Okay. Now, what Azure will provide us. So these are categorized into different category based on the needs we have. The first one is compute category. So in this compute category, you can able to create virtual machine scale set, all type of OS related virtual machines we can create with help of this compute category or containers. All this you can create in the this one. The next category we have is storage. Okay. So storage means all the storage account to store all our images or data. All this can be stored inside the storage category. Here we can create storage accounts. The third one is networking. So even though this public cloud, inside the public cloud, a private network can be created. Inside that private network only, the resources will be created. Let us take an example, virtual machine. Virtual machine will be created in a private network, which is called VNet. Okay, virtual network. With this network category, you can able to create virtual network subnets and map that IP or subnet to your machines. Okay, the next one we have is load balancing concepts. So whatever the load balancers of options we have, you can able to see in this, sorry, in the load balancing category. You can able to perform application load balancing and infra load balancing, all you can perform. One we have is databases. All kind of database you can create by SQL, PostgreSQL, Cosmos DB, all kind of databases you can create in this database category. So these are the major categories you have. Any of the cloud providers will provide these kind of categories, subcategories only. The major difference between this is functionality, how they are actually providing, and application reliability and what we can say scalability and reliability. So you can ask me why we need to go with Azure, why not AWS, and why can't GCP? So every one cloud computing providers will perform the same operation. In our Azure, we call servers as virtual machines, whereas in AWS, we'll call it as EC2 instances. In Google GCP cloud platform, instances, virtual machine instances. But the functionality of the all these three is same. Okay. So the major difference between all these three will be where here is you can able to do what they will do is scalability and reliability based on these aspects only. We can differentiate between the cloud providers. As per this one, we are going with Azure cloud service. These are the major services they will provide. We do have the same thing they will also provide, case also will provide. But what they will do is Microsoft, they will tell that we are running large number of applications inside Microsoft with help of these service providers only, the compute machines only. So the best example for that one is maximum number of users we have. For that, they will say that best number of example is that Microsoft. So we do have different Microsoft applications, right? Office 365, and all these kind of applications they are running inside their Microsoft Azure infra only. Whatever they are providing, like a virtual machine, storage account, databases, they are saying that we have maximum number of users which we are using this kind of resources, so that scalability and reliability will be more when compared to other kind of cloud compute providers. That is what they will tell you. So based on that reasons, we will cover Azure cloud computing. So how this is how they what we call services. So I'll quickly show you from Azure portal how it looks like, all the categories. Go back to my Azure portal. So the link, the URL will be portal.azure.com. So I'll tell you how to create a free trial account and how to upgrade your account when as actual task starts. So for now you can. So this is how the Azure portal UI page looks like. Okay, once you logged in. So if you click on this icon, so the three, you need to select all services. This is where it will provide you different categories and subcategories as well. See here, these are the categories you have. In this majorly will focus on few categories, which is compute service. See compute category, you can able to see availability sets, compute instance, virtual machine scale sets, container community images, all this you can able to see in this compute category. And similarly, you will have contain all kind of databases are available. We can create this database and we can use it for our application deployment and application development as well. There our application deployment will be done with the help of Azure with different of tools. So let us say if you wanted to deploy an application in VM, so you'll create a virtual machine. So that application requires a SQL database. You will install SQL database from this Azure cloud itself. Okay, these are the different categories you have. As I told you, networking. So these are the networking sections you have. You can able to create virtual network, private virtual network, public IPs, private links. All this can be created inside your Azure. And as well, storage we have, security we have. These are the categories we have. Inside each category, we have different services we have based on our requirement and our application requirements. We need to create all these things in our Azure. Creating in the sense we are getting we are getting this service in compute. You have virtual machines. If you click on virtual machine, it will ask you to create a virtual machine. So if you see here, I have hovered the mouse in my virtual machine and it is showing that you want to create. Otherwise, these are the three virtual machines I have in my Azure account. So creating in the sense we are getting these services from Azure cloud. If you go back to here in this concept, so 100 GB is there, right? So in 100 GB CPU and 100 CPU and memory VM is there. So from this, some part of VM, some part of database center server to us. So what are the configuration we have given from this VM to create a VM? That much configuration VM will be created in the Azure cloud. So we are making a request to the Azure cloud provider saying that I need this much of virtual machine so that it will provide you the same virtual machine to use it. So you need to connect to that virtual machine and you can use it. Okay. So these are the categories services Azure will provide you. So categories we have and subcategories of we do have. So we'll go through all this in detail as the course starts. We'll tell you how to create a virtual machine from portal and from Cloud Shell. We'll call it as this is a Cloud Shell where you will run all the Azure command, AZ commands will run. Okay, so I'll tell you both ways how to create all these things and how to use these things and how to integrate one to other. You have different, like let us say, virtual machines you will have and databases you will have. How to integrate these two so that virtual machine can talk to database and then database can talk to VMs, vice versa. Okay, this is about cloud computing and Azure. The next topic is DevOps. Can anyone tell me what is DevOps?
Development and operation, like automating the development with any CI/CD pipeline where we automate the development process, complete process automating, like committing the code and then building the code, then the
Yes.
deploying, artifactory, publishing, everything like we automating in a
The
pipe.
same thing. So it is a basically, as the name says, development and operations. So it is a practice to collaborate between development team and operations team. So
Yes.
initial days, what they will do is development team will develop the applications and they'll hand over that application to operations team, right? So the operations team will perform all this kind of deployments, maintaining the servers, all these things will be done. So in DevOps, we need to prepare a strategy and a practice to deploy the application automatically. So this automation we can perform with different tools in the DevOps. Okay, DevOps is not only one tool. So we do have different tools. The first and foremost tool we will use is CI/CD tool. What is CI/CD? Continuous integration and continuous deployment. We can do both actually, continuous deployment and we can use continuous delivery as well. So CI/CD tool is the most important thing for our DevOps practices to be done. So if anyone asks you to perform DevOps practices for a new application, you need to start with our CI/CD process. So we do have a lot more CI/CD tools in the market. Everyone knows about Jenkins, right? Jenkins is one of the tool where we can perform the CI/CD operations. And yeah, GitHub Actions, Azure GitHub Jenkins, GitHub Actions, and GitLab CI/CD. These are the different tools we have to perform this one. Whereas in the Azure, you will get a different tool for this. Not a different tool, it is the same operations only, it will perform CI/CD. So the tool name is Azure Pipelines, we can call it as. We can achieve the CI/CD practice, so continuous integration and continuous development or delivery. We can achieve with the help of this Azure Pipelines as well. And next one in the DevOps, what we need to do is we need to integrate our CI/CD to our target environment. So here we are saying that we need to continuous integration and continuous deployment. Where we are deploying actually our application. We can deploy our application in either on-premises server or in the cloud environment, right? So we need to integrate our CI/CD Azure pipeline to our Azure environment. In Azure Virtual Machine, I wanted to deploy my application. Integrate our CI/CD tool. So the next one we need to have is we need to maintain networking. We need to provide safe network to access our application and access to our these things. So all this can be done in this DevOps practices. We can call them as a practices. We need to install this CI/CD tools. We need to run the pipelines. We need to automate the entire process of deployment. Whenever the user commits the code into the repositories, then it will take the code and it will perform the build operation. All this can be done with the help of this DevOps practices. So I'll simply show you a diagram. So CI/CD pipeline diagram we have used in real-time scenarios in one of the production environments. So I'll show you that one so that you can understand what is the DevOps practice and what are the stages involved in it. So I'll explain you the stages. So I'll go to. So this is one of the CI/CD architecture, like a DevOps stages architecture. We can say initially we'll start with planning. So this is where both the development team and operations team will sit together in the planning section, and they will perform planning of our application deployment. So whatever team tell that what kind of development they have done, and operations team will tell that what kind of operations they want to perform. The planning will be done here. So once the planning is done, the development team will develop the application and they will use. Let us take here in example I'm saying using GitHub. So they will push the code to the GitHub repository. Okay, this is what the development stage means. So once the development team has pushed the code tree or moved the code to the repository, then it will taken by this stage called build plus test. So we will build the application in this stage and we'll test the application in the same stage. And once that is done, we will release that application. So let us take example of Java. What is the out Java build application? Executable file will get. Or else, in few cases, we will containerize this application with the help of Docker, meaning that we'll pack this entire application into an image and we'll store that image here. Till here, from this to this, we can call it as CI process, continuous integration. Developer will continuously push the code to the GitHub and there will happen, test will happen, and we can able to create the Docker image. And their first layer of process, we can call it as continuous integration. The next part is continuous deployment. So where we will take the image, created a latest image, that image we will take and deploy. So here deploy in the sense deploy to a cloud environment or a on-premises environment virtual machines. Okay, not only virtual machines, we can also use Kubernetes clusters and we can use app services, web applications. We do have different options to deploy our application. We'll take the image, whatever the latest image we have created with the help of our source code. We'll take that image and deploy it over in the cloud environment. Okay, so once we have deployed, we'll operate the application and we'll monitor this one and we'll provide continuous feedback to the team. So this lower layer, we can call it as CD pipeline. So instead of that loop, DevOps is nothing but a loop, right? Infinite loop. So here also you can go around and round and round. So this is the basic like DevOps stages involved application deployment. So data migration in the sense from on-prem data to cloud database, right? Yeah, that one we'll see in the subcategory. We'll have databases right here. Here we will create a database in the cloud environment. So let us take SQL database we have created. Okay. So from on-prem to this one, you will have a connectivity with the help of virtual network. You will have an Office VPN. With the help of Office VPN, you can able to connect to the same database which you have created in Azure. You will allow whitelist that one. So then you can migrate. So you'll write some SQL script, DDL scripts you have written. So which can take the data from on-prem server to this on-prem database to the cloud database. That kind of scripts you need to perform. For that one also, you can write a simple CI/CD pipeline. Okay, so it will take the source database and it will run the scripts what we have created to migrate the data from one DB to another DB. Yeah, you need to script, but you need to run the script manually right over there. But here you can have a pipeline to run it. Cloud database also you can configure that. We call it source database. You can configure so that it will take you the data from the database in regular intervals. That configurations we can perform inside the database itself. Or else if it is not possible, we can go with the pipeline option to run the. So this is the DevOps stages involved in the DevOps practice. And how we need to achieve this all these stages with help of Azure. That is what means Azure DevOps. Okay. So Azure DevOps is nothing but if we achieve all these stages with the help of Azure, that is nothing but Azure DevOps. So to each stage, Azure will provide you all kind of tools. Okay. So the next concept is Azure DevOps. So in Azure DevOps, what they will provide you is these are all administration services. We can call this all this. But whereas Azure DevOps, they will offer you 5 tools. So the first tool is Azure Boards. So everyone know about Jira tool, right? It is a ticketing tool, tracking tool we will use to work on the work items what have been assigned, correct? Similarly, there is a tool to track all our progress, whatever the tickets we are going to work on, whatever the sprints we are working on, what are the quarterly planning we are doing. All these things we can perform in the Azure boards as we are doing it on the Jira. So this is where planning will happen. The first block will give you the planning section. So the first block can be achieved with help of Azure boards, Azure repos, we can call it as. So Azure repositories is nothing but it will offer you to store their source code. Let us say I have developed an application of Java application I have developed. I wanted to store the code in somewhere as a source code manager, as SCM, source code management tool. Okay, version control I need to do. All these things you can perform with help of Azure repos. This development part will be done by using this Azure repos tool. Okay. So the next one is build, test, release, and deploy. Okay, the CI plus CD blocks can be achieved with help of Azure pipelines functionality of DevOps as well. And the fifth one is Azure tests. So this is where you can run your test cases to test your application and all those things. The last one you have is Azure artifacts. So if you have any executable files to be stored for the future purpose, you will use Azure artifacts. So the remaining all these three operation means it to run our application. So once you have deployed application in the cloud environment, application will automatically run. The monitoring in the sense Azure monitor from category you will use. Admin services you will use Azure category, you will use Azure monitoring. So practically, we are achieving all stages of DevOps practices with the help of Azure only. So we are not using any other third-party tool. So in this DevOps example, we can say Jenkins, GitHub, GitLab, these are all the third-party tools, right, to achieve the same operations. But whereas in Azure DevOps, these tools and these admin resources we are using to develop our application and deploy our application on the cloud. So we are not depending on the third-party tools. Okay, this is what Azure DevOps means. So this is how we are integrating our with Azure with help of Azure DevOps. So if I show you what is Azure DevOps, so if you go to the portal again, here if you go back, we go down, there is an option here. There is a category called DevOps. If you click on this one, it will open you the Azure DevOps organizations. This is what you need to select. Okay. So if you click on this one, it will take you to the DevOps. So if you click on view organizations, so I don't have any retail account which I have created recently. I haven't created any organization yet. Where it will take you, so meaning development.azure.com. So if you give all these details and continue, I'll tell you how to create this DevOps organization project, how you need to create. For now, you can see this one. So this is how it looks like. And this is your Azure portal board to have a clear difference actually. So if you click on this one, this portal.azure.com, this is where you will install all your services. Let us say virtual machines, storage accounts, databases, networks, and load balancers. All this can be installed here for our application usage. Like infra, we will create from this page, and CI/CD DevOps practices will be performed in this page, dev.azure.com. Okay, these are the two boards, two services altogether it is offering. One is compute set like services and DevOps also Azure will offer us. So with help of these two, we can develop and deploy our application in the cloud environment called Azure. We have performing a DevOps practices and Azure DevOps pipeline. We are trying to integrate all these tools and developing the application and deploying the application. So the next topic here is DevSecOps with Azure. So what is DevSecOps means? Development, security, and operation. So we put security in each stages of DevOps practices. Then we can say that DevSecOps. In DevOps practice, we used to perform testing at the end of application deployment. Let us take this test means this is a build test. This is not our test, actual testing. So once this operating monitor, in the monitor section, we will perform testing of our applications means once the application is deployed and we perform testing, once the cases are run and our testing is passed, then we will release the application to the end users. But in the DevSecOps practice, what we will do is we will integrate security in each stages of our Azure DevOps practices. We have these many stages I have. Here I'll integrate security in each stage. So why we need to do that? We will identify that issues what we are getting in before deploying the application only. Okay. So this is where put security in each stage so that you can able to perform security operations as well in your DevOps practices. So let us take in a GitHub how we put security. If you ask me, I'll use static code analysis tools. So what is the static code analysis tools? Then let us take SonarQube. Okay, SonarQube is one of the static code analysis tool where you can scan your source code and you can get the reports, right? So if you get vulnerabilities or issues in your source code, then you need to fix that issues before go to this next stage in your DevOps. So in my pipeline, I'll quality gates I'll put in my pipeline. Once this stage has no vulnerabilities, then only it will go to the next stage. That configurations we will do will perform with help of Azure DevOps pipelines. Okay, in Docker also we'll use security. So to scan Docker images, we'll use Aquascan or Retrieve. So we do have different tools. We can use any either of one tool to scan our image. Again, even though we have scanned the source code, we are scanning again the image. So if there is any issues in your image or vulnerabilities in your image, then again we'll scan that image and we'll try to resolve that issues before proceeding to the deployment stage. Okay, this is how we'll use different tools. Tell you when we are actually working on with each stage and each tool. So we are integrating the security in the DevOps practices in each and every stage. We are calling it as DevSecOps, and we can also call this as shift left security. Shift left right. What we are doing from at the end of security testing, at the end we are performing that we are going to the backwards to the left side to each and every stage. That is what shift left security means. So one more name for the DevSecOps is shift left practices. Okay, all these three DevOps practices, DevSecOps practices, and resource creations. When we combine all these three together, we can call it as Azure DevSecOps. Okay. So with this one, I'll conclude one more thing. Sorry, I'll walk you through the course contents what we have, and I'll open for questions then. These are the course contents you can able to see. So we'll start with introduction. So this is where we covered computing, what is cloud computing, Azure cloud, all this we have covered in the demo, right? So then the next topics will be starts from Linux administration, shell scripting. So Azure administration services, how to create a user account, how to create a free trial account, how to create a user subscription, all this can be learned here. And then you will have as I told you, the major categories of resources we can able to see here: virtual machines, networks, load balancing, containerization, Docker. So these are the two important things: Docker and Kubernetes. So we are also included the Docker and Kubernetes concepts in this course, so that you guys you can learn DevOps easily. And then you have Azure monitoring, automation, Terraform, DevOps. As I told you, DevOps, Azure DevOps. This is DevOps means. So what is the practices of DevOps? And Azure pipelines, artifacts, boards, all this you can learn in this course. From this course, you can able to perform any application deployment in the cloud environment with help of the CI/CD tool, what we are going to learn in this course. So with this, I'll conclude my